Well, Alana Goodman with the Washington Examiner joins us now with more on her exclusive story. Alana, why would the federal government need to fund Nation of Islam religious studies in prison?
Well, that's a great question, and it's one that a lot of people were, people were just shocked when I was talking to them about this. I spoke to analysts who research hate groups, and, they said there's no reason why an organization like the Nation of Islam should be getting any money from the federal government. This isn't necessarily just, a freedom of religious issue. Obviously, it's fine to have materials, things like that, that you can read in a prison, but this is about federal funding going to this group. And this is an organization that has been declared a hate group by the Anti-Defamation League, the Southern Poverty Law Center, and others. So they have a long history of that.
Right. It's really interesting. Well, does the U.S. Bureau of Prisons fund other religious groups that spout this kind of hatred in this way?
That's a great question. Would they fund an organization like the Aryan Brotherhood, for example? There are a lot of racist type groups that are in prisons and proliferate in prisons, and I have not heard of any other group, that has this kind of background besides the Nation of Islam that has received funding.
In your story, you talk about how the Bureau has to review the religious materials. Why do you think that the Bureau is, funding these studies, knowing, the racist and anti-Semitic themes in them?
That's a great question, and I have asked the Bureau of Prisons about this, and they don't want to talk about the details of the contract. They said that the initial contract was over 6 years ago, and so they don't keep their files for over 6 years. So we really don't know exactly what was in there and exactly what is being taught. But I will say, based on analysts who I've spoken to about this, anti-Semitism and kind of anti-white bigotry is a foundational principle in the Nation of Islam philosophy. So, it's not just the fact that their leader, Louis Farrakhan, goes out and goes on television or on Twitter and compares Jews to termites. It's also that this is a fundamental part of the Nation of Islam philosophy, and it really can't be separated from it.
Mm-hmm. You also report the Senate Foreign Relations Committee found as many as 36 U.S. citizens who converted to Islam in prison, then traveled to Yemen, possibly for al-Qaeda training. Can you tell us any more about that?
Yeah, so this was something that was also raised to me when I spoke to Congressman Peter King. Radicalization in prison has been something that he has focused on for years on the House Homeland Security Committee, and it's something that has been a big issue even recently in the news, where we saw this Christmas marketplace shooting in France recently, and that was carried out by somebody who had reportedly been radicalized while in prison. So this is a big concern, and as Congressman King told me during our interview, this is something that should concern all Americans.
Mm-hmm. Alana, where do you see this all going? Do you expect this funding to continue?
Well, it has dropped down under President Trump. Under President Obama, it was about 5 times more funding was going to this. So we've really seen it drop off a lot in the last 2 years. And I don't know if that trend is going to continue. But, the Bureau of Prisons didn't say whether they're going to cut off this program or not. It seems like they're kind of defending it in some ways. So we'll have to just wait and see on that.
Right. Well, it'll be interesting to see the fallout. Alana Goodman, thanks for your report and your time.
Thank you.